Are you scared of the stock market? It's okay. I'll share with you a perfect fund for you. You know, a lot of people are worried about the stock market. It's ran up for pretty much 10 years straight, had its dips and whatnot, but um, there's a lot of people that sit on the sideline and don't want to get in. And, I don't blame them for it. Um, it's your money. You worked for it. Um, I understand the fear of getting into the stock market because, you can lose money if you're not careful. Um, or if you don't have a long-term horizon. So for the risk averse or people that know that they probably should be in the market, but um, don't just out of fear, but they think they need to do something, I have the perfect, in my opinion, ETF for that. And that comes from Ishares. And it's the Core Conservative Allocation ETF. And it's called AOK. That's pretty fitting. It's pretty much a bond fund. I think at the moment it's about 70% bonds, 30% stocks. So what will this give you is a pretty steady growth with and it'll beat inflation at, I believe it's a 2.69% yield that actually pays monthly. So if you look down here, 10-year return, it's not going to blow you out the water, but it'll beat inflation. At 10 years, it's 5.55%. And what it holds, oh, another key that I wanted to share here is if you're risk averse, you want to look at things with low beta. Now, what beta is you have the S&P 500. The S&P 500 has a beta is kind of like the volatility, the swings of it. So the S&P 500 is the benchmark, which is 1.0. So something below that will mean that it does not move as much as the S&P 500. Something above 1.0 will mean that it moves a lot more volatile against the S&P 500. So what we have here, if I can find it, where'd it go? It is not here. Oh, there it is. Beta 0.27. So what this is saying is it has 1/4 of the volatility of the S&P 500. And what that also ends up meaning is you really get about 1/4 the performance of the S&P 500 as well, in a sense. So you have 12-month trailing yield of 2.69%, that's paid monthly. And you look down at the holdings, you have 60% in the US bond market, 14% in the S&P 500, this is where your growth comes in, 10% in the international aggregate bond market, 10% in the international developed market, so this is an equity, almost 3% in emerging markets, 1% in the mid cap, and 0.5% in the small cap. So all these equity positions right here will give you slight growth in all this FI fixed income, or these two fixed incomes will give you steady income and not a lot of volatility. And it's pretty exposed across the world, mostly in the United States at 65% of the fund. Oh, there you go. Fixed income, which are bonds mainly, 70%, 28.8% in stocks. Now, if you're risk averse, what you want to look at, we'll look at a comparison. Now, this is the blue line is the AOK fund, and the red line is the S&P 500. Now, the important thing to see is, yes, you're not gonna blow it out the water. You get over, this is about 10 years, you get a 23% return. But you got it, well, versus the S&P, which is 144%. But the key is, can you handle the S&P 500? There's some people that can't, and that is perfectly fine. You don't have to be in the S&P 500 to save and be comfortable. I think the point of investing is for you to be able to be comfortable with what you're with your money that you've earned. So if you look at AOK ETF, look how smooth this ride is. It's relatively flat and not very volatile. But look at the S&P 500. Yes, it's going up, but all these dips and valleys, and are you gonna, like, for instance, what if you put in, if you said, screw it, I need to get in, I'm gonna dump $100,000 in the S&P 500, and you did that in November or September or October of 2018, and then you experience this 20% dip, and now your $100,000 is $80,000. Could you stomach that? I mean, there's some people that can't, and that is okay. It's your money. We understand. But here, it didn't do hardly anything. You know, it might have dropped 2 or 3% versus the 20 of the S&P. So, if you're that conservative investor that knows you need a little something, this AOK is AOK with me. It'll at least keep up with inflation, give you a monthly dividend payment, and protect your capital, and give you a little growth. I think nothing wrong with that at all. If you like this video, please subscribe, share, comment down below, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.